The peculiar pulse of mid-June 2025. What happens when you mix a military parade, bubble wands, pangolin meat, and a century-old explosion nobody can explain? You get mid-June 2025, a week so strange it made Florida look like a bastion of normalcy. Welcome to Klepper's Corner, Weird News, the only show where reality checks bounce harder than the US dollar after a Trump tweet. This week's top stories span the globe and logic itself. We've got senators in handcuffs, generals dropping like flies, prehistoric animals discovered under ice, and Kansas, oh sweet, confused Kansas, telling residents, yes, there's a tornado, but try refreshing the NOAA website every 30 seconds. Let's dive into the bizarre, the bewildering, and the just plain batch with a fresh batch of weirdness that proves the news isn't broken, it's just doing interpretive dance now. Segment 1, no kings, just clowns. Military parade meets pride parade meets carnival protest. June 14, 2025, Washington, D.C. hosted what might be the most chaotic family reunion in the history of democracy. On one side, we had world pride, glitter, love, rainbow boas, the occasional leather nun on rollerblades. On the other, a Trump-led military parade featuring tanks, fighter jets, and a marching band whose drum cadence was reportedly just someone shouting, "Build the wall" on loop. And here's the kicker. This wasn't two events. It was one city block apart. Yes, while folks were tossing confetti and making out under rainbow flags, the Army was celebrating its 250th birthday like your uncle who peaked in Vietnam, shirtless, oiled up, and shouting at clouds. Oh, and this whole circus was also Trump's 79th birthday. Nothing screams "celebrate me" quite like issuing a national threat days before. Protesters will be met with very big force. Big force, of course, being the name of his failed cologne brand. Now, in Alameda, California, land of avocado toast and unlicensed mime schools, the No Kings protest took a more whimsical turn. They had a family fun pre-protest, complete with Statue of Liberty crown crafting, noisemaker stations, and bubble blowing. Because nothing says resistance like an Cirque du Soleil ringmaster yelling, "Make some noise for democracy," while someone in a tutu makes balloon animals shaped like liberty torches. Meanwhile, in Texas, Governor Greg Abbott deployed 5,000 National Guard troops to face off against these threats to America, armed with glitter cannons and folding chairs from Home Goods. Protesters in LA heckled the National Guard by telling them they should be ashamed. Which is true, because if you're a trained soldier and the guy taunting you is holding a rainbow slushie and a cardboard sign that says "King me, Daddy," you've officially lost the plot. The real takeaway? America has now perfected the ideological 2-for-1 special. Parades of power next to parades of pride, tanks rolling past drag queens, and Trump declaring war on bubbles. If this isn't peak American absurdity, I don't know what is. Segment 2, Bombshell Broadcast. Tehran reporter flees mid-airstrike, returns like it's Tuesday. Okay, so imagine this. You're watching the nightly news in Tehran. The anchor is talking about the weather or, I don't know, uranium enrichment. And boom, the studio is hit by 4 bombs. The screen cuts out, everything goes black. You're thinking, that's it, show's over. But no, she's back on another camera. Like it's just a normal part of the rundown. Up next, health insurance tips and surviving a direct missile strike during live TV. That's not news. That's a Christopher Nolan subplot. Let's be clear, this wasn't metaphorical bombing. 4 literal bombs hit a TV studio during a live broadcast. And within minutes, the same reporter was back in a backup studio, continuing the broadcast like she hadn't just starred in a war-themed reboot of The Truman Show. This all comes as Israel claims full aerial superiority over Tehran, which is bold, like we control the sky, bold. If airspace was a frat party, Israel just walked in, changed the music, and told everyone else to leave their shoes at the door. Meanwhile, President Trump, the man, the myth, the Wi-Fi signal in human form, issued an all-caps message to the people of Tehran. Everyone should evacuate immediately. No context, no coordination, just boom. The guy who once recommended nuking a hurricane is now issuing impromptu foreign evacuation orders from Truth Social. And in what can only be described as diplomacy's drunk uncle moment, Iran's foreign minister responded not via press conference, but with a post on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, formerly known as Tolerable. He basically said, "Hey, America, if you could just pick up the phone and tell Bibi to chill, that'd be great." So now international diplomacy is a flame war between boomers with state secrets and social media accounts. This isn't global governance, it's a group chat with nukes. Segment 3, cold cases and colder critters, Antarctica's subglacial surprise. Let's take a break from international horror and visit Antarctica. You know, that icy continent where nothing happens except for penguin drama and sad climate graphs. Well, not this week. Scientists drilling into Lake Mercer, a body of water buried under a kilometer of ice, which is basically the Earth's version of Do Not Disturb, found animal remains. Not bacteria, not algae, actual leggy, creepy, crawly things. Tardigrades, worms, crustacean-type blobs, and what one scientist described as squished spiders. First of all, if the sentence includes squished and spiders, I'm already out. That's the biological equivalent of finding a clown car in your basement. Sure, it fits, but why? Now, keep in mind, they've done this before. They drilled into nearby Lake Willans a few years ago and found, disappointed, nothing. Just microbes. Single-celled bachelors. But Lake Mercer? It's like the rave no one told the biologists about. Suddenly it's legs, limbs, and nightmares down there. And while scientists aren't sure if the animals lived in the lake or were dragged in by glacial Uber, one thing is clear. We now have proof that complex life, even spider-adjacent life, can exist in extreme isolation. Which is great news for people hoping we'll find aliens on Europa, and terrible news for anyone who didn't want to share a frozen jacuzzi with microscopic arthropods. This discovery is huge. It's not just science, it's science with a horror movie twist. It's The Thing, but with more grant money. And it raises an important question. If that's what's living under our own ice sheets, what's in your freezer? Segment 4, snakes, chickens, and the circle of nope. Anaconda myths meet budget farm drama. Welcome to the Amazon, where the snakes are large, the chickens are nervous, and the folklore is somehow both majestic and mildly petty. Local ethnobiologists, a word that means scientists who aren't afraid of bugs the size of dinner plates, recently uncovered a wild contrast. Anacondas, once mythologized as god snakes capable of shaking rivers and summoning storms, are now mostly seen as disappointed poultry thieves. Yes, the jungle's apex predator has been demoted to chicken burglar. And not just accused, caught. One villager even told researchers he killed an anaconda, pulled the chicken out of its belly, and ate it. Why? Because it was still fresh. That's not a survival tactic, that's a deleted scene from Survivor Snake Edition. Now here's where it gets weirder. Apparently, when anacondas eat a chicken, they tufa vom, a local term meaning they swell up and get too big to fit back through the hole they slithered in through. So now you've got an enormous snake stuck inside your coop full of your prize hen looking like a deflated Michelin man with remorse. But the bigger story here is the cultural shift, how traditional reverence for nature is being replaced by the economic realities of backyard farming. People used to sing songs about the great snake. Now they just want it out of the coop and off their dinner plate. Honestly, I'd watch this documentary. Call it Anaconda Revenge of the Nuggets. Segment 5, Scales of Misunderstanding. Pangolins, bushmeat, and the conservation curveball. You know what conservationists love? A scapegoat. For years, the pangolin, the adorable armadillo meets artichoke mammal, was the poster child for illegal wildlife trafficking. Its scales blamed on demand from traditional Chinese medicine. But new research from Nigeria just blew that theory wide open. Turns out 98% of hunted pangolins aren't being trafficked for their scales. They're being eaten. Yep, bushmeat. Not black market sorcery charms, just dinner. Even wilder, 70% of the scales, the supposed treasure, are just tossed out, discarded, like the kale in a chicken Caesar wrap. This is the equivalent of hunting a unicorn for its meat and throwing away the horn. Conservation groups are now in full rebrand mode. They've been focused on international smuggling raids and customs crackdowns when the real problem was a local dietary staple. It's like finding out Bigfoot was never hunted for science, he was hunted for stew. This has serious implications. If the pangolin crisis is mostly local, then strategies need to change, from airport busts to community engagement. You don't stop a food source with a pamphlet from the UN. You stop it by offering an alternative that doesn't taste like prehistoric chicken wrapped in armor. Let's be honest, pangolins are weird. They're the only mammals with scales. They date back to the dinosaur age, and now they're caught in a crossfire between culture, hunger, and global misunderstanding. This isn't just weird, it's tragically weird and deeply human. Segment 6, tornado, just Google it. Kansas turns off weather radios mid-storm season. Let's talk about Kansas, the state that brought us wheat, tornadoes, and now apparently offline weather radios during a tornado watch. Yes, in what may be the single dumbest game of bureaucratic chicken with nature, eastern Kansas decided to take all their critical weather radios offline for transmitter upgrades during a stretch of days forecasted for hail, floods, and tornadoes. That's like doing surgery on the smoke alarm while the house is on fire. Don't worry, folks. If you hear a funnel cloud, just check the weather app. If it hasn't loaded in time, try yelling, "Am I safe?" into the wind. Residents were advised to use websites or local TV because obviously nothing says emergency preparedness like hoping grandma remembers the browser password. Now, you might say, well, this must be a one-off. Oh no, Kansas wasn't done. The state labor department proudly announced it had recovered just 2.4% of the $460 million lost in fraudulent unemployment payouts from the pandemic. So to recap, the sky is trying to kill you, your warning system is offline, and your pandemic funds are gone, probably spent on luxury hoverboards in Nevada. Honestly, Kansas is beginning to feel less like a state and more like a Mad Libs fever dream. Segment 7. Live from the press conference, you're under arrest. California senator gets yanked on camera. And now to LA, where democracy had a full-on viral meltdown. Picture this. You're a sitting U.S. senator. You show up to a press conference hosted by South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem, who probably thinks bipartisan is a new salad dressing. You're about to make your statement when federal agents bum rush the stage and arrest you in handcuffs, on camera. That's not politics, that's cops, Senate edition. We still don't know what the charges are because the feds haven't released a statement, which means the American people are left with a viral clip of their elected official being dragged out like they just tried to bring a vape pen through airport security in Singapore. This is more than a scandal, it's symbolic. It's democracy unzipped and pantsless in front of a live studio audience. And here's the kicker. Nobody even flinched. Noem just kept going. That's how normalized political chaos has become. Someone gets cuffed and the press just goes, cool, but will there be a Q&A? We are deep in the era of spectacle governance. Congress is no longer a deliberative body. It's a WWE tag team match filmed by C-SPAN interns on Monster. The fact that this senator was arrested in full view of the public with no warning and no press statement tells you exactly where we are in 2025. The legal system is now just performance art with flashing lights. Segment 8, Tunguska Redux, aliens, black holes, or Tesla's death ray. When science says we don't know and the internet screams aliens. Let's rewind the clock, 117 years. June 30th, 1908. A mysterious explosion levels 80 million trees in Siberia. The earth shakes, birds panic. Probably someone's mustache flies off. But here's the thing, no crater, no impact site, just obliteration. Fast forward to 2025. The Unexplained Phenomena Daily Podcast decides, hey, remember that giant forest exploding mystery that's basically Bigfoot's less hairy cousin? Let's dig in. And dig in they did, with a buffet of insane theories. Was it a meteor that exploded midair, a chunk of antimatter, a rogue black hole, or, and I swear this was said out loud by an adult, Nikola Tesla's wireless death beam? Let's be clear. Any event that is 117 years old and still has a fan club of conspiracy theorists is doing better than most influencers. But that's the beauty of it. The mystery lives because it refuses to be solved. And in 2025, when the internet's collective attention span is roughly 3.7 seconds, that's impressive. The real question is, why now? Why is this century-old disaster trending again? Maybe it's the metaphor, a massive unexplained force flattening everything and leaving us with no answers. Or maybe it's because we're all secretly rooting for Tesla to have invented an interdimensional pine tree cannon. Either way, the lesson is this. Some mysteries never die. They just get better microphones. Segment 9. Tweet like your war depends on it. Trump warns Tehran. Iran subtweets back. It's one thing when a sitting president uses social media like a live grenade. It's another when one goes full doomsday prophet from his couch. June 15th, 2025. Donald Trump logs on to Truth Social, the platform where nuance goes to die, and posts, in all caps, "Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran." This wasn't a warning issued through the State Department. This was a tweet that read like the start of a Tom Clancy novel written by a guy on Adderall. Meanwhile, Iran's foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, hopped on X, formerly Twitter, formerly the last place to get banned for life, and basically said, "Dear America, you could stop Netanyahu with one phone call. Just saying." That's right. Mid-conflict, nuclear tensions rising, and both sides are subtweeting each other like teens in a group breakup chat. This isn't diplomacy, it's Love Island with drone strikes. And don't forget, this was just after Israel ordered 300,000 people in Tehran to evacuate. Imagine the chaos. Gas lines, grocery panic, kids trying to charge iPads before fleeing. All while Trump is tweeting from a gold toilet and Netanyahu's flying warplanes like he's in Top Gun 3, Iron Dome Boogaloo. We are living in the TikTok era of geopolitics, where world leaders are one trending sound away from declaring war. The next time nuclear escalation happens, it'll probably be introduced by Mr. Beast. Segment 10. Senator in Shackles, Civility in Shambles. America's newest reality show, Federal Indictments Live. Let's end this parade of peculiarity with the kind of headline that even Florida would blink twice at. Federal agents drag California U.S. Senator from Kristi Noem's press conference in handcuffs. That's not a headline. That's a plot twist from a reboot of The West Wing produced by the Real Housewives franchise. The arrest was public, theatrical, and offered zero context. Just live footage of a sitting senator being yanked out like an overseasoned reality contestant. There were no prepared remarks, no DOJ spokesperson, just a slow zoom from a confused camera operator. Is this part of the event? And Kristi Noem didn't even pause. Girl powered through like nothing was happening. Like someone being arrested 5 feet away from you is just Tuesday. This moment is peak 2025. Spectacle over substance, no details, just vibes and cuffs. It's democracy after dark, the kind of political theater where no one claps at the end because they're too busy checking their own legal exposure. The message is clear. Power protects no one anymore. Not in the court of law, not in the court of public opinion, and definitely not in the court of whatever algorithm decided this should be trending above wildfire evacuation notices. Meta segment. Weird news from the future when headlines arrive before reality does. And finally, the weirdest twist of all. Several of these news stories, they were published before they happened. Seriously, some of our sources were dated June 16th, reporting events that only occurred on June 17th, meaning either PBS has a TARDIS in its basement or we've officially broken time. It's like your toaster congratulating you for eating breakfast before you've even cracked an egg. This is more than a glitch in the Matrix. It's a philosophical crisis. Is news something that happened or just something we pre-write and hope turns out weird enough to be accurate? We've crossed into full speculative journalism. It's not breaking news, it's pre-broken news, a vibe, a forecast, a dream journal with better graphics. Somewhere, a reporter is frantically writing about next week's alien invasion, just in case. And honestly, can you blame them? Closing monologue. The world is weird, and that's why it matters. From subglacial spider fossils to senators and shackles, from chicken-swallowing anacondas to weather radios that ghost you in a storm, mid-June 2025 didn't just deliver the strange, it delivered a masterclass in how absurdity and chaos are often our clearest lenses into what's broken and what's possible. Because when you scrape the surface of every weird story, what you find underneath isn't nonsense, it's something deeply human. It's people trying to survive. It's systems straining at the seams. It's old myths meeting modern tech in alleyways no one was watching. Weird news isn't a distraction. It's the truth dressed like a jester. And in 2025, the jesters might be the only ones still telling the truth. This has been Klepper's Corner. We'll see you next time, assuming the news doesn't arrive before we do. Good night, you beautiful weirdos.